This would not have passed without Donald Trump. I want to thank the House Speaker.
But we now know that we were lied to by everyone. We were lied to by the scientists. We were lied to by Pfizer. We were lied to by the government. We were lied to by the Biden administration. We were lied to. I don't like being lied to. I don't know about you. And it makes me not believe these people. I think that the vast majority of people who are in the just asking questions business have an answer that they want to suggest, but they know there's no evidence for it. So instead, they hide behind just asking questions. In other words, they're completely full of shit. But saying that the evidence that is presented to you,
This would not have passed without Donald Trump. This would not have passed without Donald Trump.
I'm going to have to work on these people. I'm going to have to.
What's going on, everybody? I have a great show for you today. Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro have been taking jabs at each other. Ben Shapiro posted another video yesterday really questioning what Tucker Carlson's talking about and disagreeing with him on atomic bombs. But what I really want to talk about is not just the fact that they're disagreeing on topics, but this is just a sign and a symptom of a bigger culture war that's going on. And I want to talk about why it actually matters, because a lot of people will look at this and say, oh, stop the infighting. We have to win an election. But our House of Representatives just passed a bill that they were holding the line on, for border security for a long time, but they're sending tens of billions of dollars to Ukraine, tens of billions of dollars to Israel, and I think around $8 billion to Taiwan, something in that area, without anything for our border. We're funding the borders of multiple other countries without our borders. They're failing us. And while they're failing us, there's people like Ben Shapiro and the CEO of Babylon Bee, Seth Dillon, who are trying to gaslight conservatives into thinking that just asking questions is just so bad and you're not being smart and rational. And they're using the same exact logic as Dr. Anthony Fauci was when he tried to gaslight you into thinking that, oh, you think you know more than the scientists and the science, and I'm the science, and, look at all this evidence and data. We got to talk about it because it's a bigger issue that's going on. And I want to tell people why it matters, what I think. And also, I want to look into that foreign aid bill and how Lindsey Graham is saying that Donald Trump actually helped pass it along, not because he's in government and you should blame him, but because he's Donald Trump and he has the power and control over a lot of Republicans who respect him. It's worth looking into. God bless you guys. Give me a thumbs up in the comment if everything sounds good, and the show starts now. I appreciate you. Well, actually, it starts when I click the button because I'm my own producer, so I guess it starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you guys. We got Sarah, Liz, Nicholas, Shifty Eyes. It's quite the interesting name. Jesus Christ is, I'm guessing it's not the real Jesus Christ, because if Jesus was to return, I highly doubt he would return through a YouTube commentator. But you ever hear that song? What if he's an angel? Like maybe, you never know where an angel would return or Jesus would return. Maybe he would return to the comment sections, but doubt it. Probably just a fake profile. Anyway, I want to watch this video really quick before I start my whole thing, because I made this compilation myself. You're welcome. Of Ben Shapiro. It's a different one than I've made before. This one includes him saying, we were lied to by the Pfizer. We were lied to by the government. We were lied to by the scientists. As he says, by everyone. He sounds very disingenuous. He says this, we were lied to by everyone. Who could have known that? And it's like, these are the same people now trying to gaslight us into thinking that just asking questions is so bad and Tucker Carlson's so wrong about his stance of bombing innocent civilians. And they're not saying that just because they think that we should have bombed Japan during World War II. Currently, tens of thousands of people, including tens of thousands of innocent women and children, are being slaughtered, and they want to make the justification for that. So they're making it with other historical narratives. But let's just watch this clip. And I mean, to me, anybody with I shouldn't even say anything. Let's just watch the clip. Here's Ben Shapiro completely admitting that he got tricked during the COVID pandemic, yet now he's trying to tell you that just asking questions is the problem, not the fact that he didn't ask enough questions. This is a different compilation, by the way. New clips, older clips that I never showed you, mixed in with some of the good ones that I already did. So enjoy.
but we now know that we were lied to by everyone. We were lied to by the scientists. We were lied to by Pfizer. We were lied to by the government. We were lied to by the Biden administration. We were lied to. I don't like being lied to. I don't know about you. And it makes me not believe these people. I think that the vast majority of people who are in the just asking questions business have an answer that they want to suggest, but they know there's no evidence for it. So instead, they hide behind just asking questions. In other words, they're completely full of shit. But saying that the evidence that is presented to you is now of no consequence whatsoever, that no evidence provided is sufficient because the source cannot be trusted, that they are lying to you, that they're always lying to you, always, and that no counter evidence is necessary to support your new thesis because, again, they're lying to you and they've hidden all the evidence. This is nasty and horrific. And again, the way that the Pfizer lady justified all of this is she said, well, you know, there are certain studies that say we may have saved 20 million lives. Okay, well, let's say that that's true. You also lied to the public about this stuff in order to get them to do a thing you wanted them to do, which in free democracies is supposed to be bad. You're not supposed, and here's the other thing. If that's really how the vaccines had worked, don't you think that as that became clear, more and more people would have taken them? And we have seen a tremendous amount of vaccine hesitancy, unfortunately, in the Black and Hispanic community. Okay, Black America, only 67% of Black Americans say they definitely will get the vaccine or probably get the vaccine. So the Black community has tremendous vaccine hesitancy. Okay, that is a real problem. According to Tucker, you have to believe Tucker. And if you don't, it's probably because you're part of the conspiracy or the cover-up, because you're owned, because you become the establishment, because you're weak and you can be taken over by nefarious forces. The only man of courage in this routine is apparently the truth seeker Tucker, who asks questions but doesn't actually examine the evidence on these particular issues, because why do you need to know things when you can just ask questions? But we now know that we were lied to by everyone. We were lied to by the scientists. We were lied to by Pfizer. We were lied to by the government. We were lied to by the Biden administration. We were lied to. I don't like being lied to. I don't know about you. And it makes me not believe these.
There's a lot to unpack there, but I'm always asking the question, like, obviously I think I'm smarter than Ben, but in general, like, is he dumb? I don't think he's like dumb. He's clearly like not below average or anything. I don't think he's as smart as he leads on, but I don't think he's like dumb. But then when I listen to clips like that, I'll just play the very beginning. He goes, listen to how he says the word everyone. We were lied to by everyone.
But we now know that we were lied to by everyone. We were lied to by the scientists.
By everyone. Does that sound like a man who believes what he's saying? Like, do you think he's really like, he sounds nervous? Like, yeah, we were lied to by everyone. Wow. I'm really mad. Or does it sound like someone that's acting to you? Like, we were lied to by everyone.
But we now know that we were lied to by everyone. We were
by everyone. I don't personally buy it, but I'm no body language expert. To me, that comes across not as like, oh, I got tricked and I'm wrong and I feel bad about it. It feels more like this is what I'm saying now, is that I believe that I got lied to. It's like, so there's a few things to unpack from that compilation I made. One, the hubris of a man who admitted he was wrong about, I would say, the biggest science and psychology, I would say, test in modern history. This is like somebody on Twitter. They're telling me like Jordan Peterson, who obviously very famous, very successful, interesting to listen to. They said he's the #1 top psychologist in the world. Yet he fell for the #1 psychology experiment in modern history, which was COVID compliance to the vaccine. You do that and then you'll get your freedom back, which he got tricked. He thought that doing that would get his freedom back. He got the vaccine and he started crying on Twitter. Wait, why is my freedom not back? I got tricked. Saying that Jordan Peterson, although God bless the guy, is the #1 psychologist in the world is like saying Dr. Fauci's the #1 scientist in the world, maybe by status, but not by intelligence and earning that title via solving problems like the one that matters, the biggest psychology experiment in modern history. But in general, with Shapiro, it's just interesting that he admits that he was wrong about, he got tricked by Pfizer, which was easy to see through for a lot of us. He got tricked by the government because he thinks that when the government says something, you're supposed to trust them, but he listened to them and then got tricked by them. He got tricked by the scientists. And this is what I was talking to somebody yesterday about, because people like Shapiro and even Seth Dillon now are trying to be like Dr. Fauci's and like the left was during COVID, where they're like, yeah, of course you want to think, but don't think too much. Like, some things are obvious and you want to accept them as truth and be rational. Sure. But rationality doesn't say Dr. Fauci's the top expert or politicians or political experts. It says that scientists are being paid off, politicians are being paid off, And lobbyists are paying off and buying off certain industries to the point where it's like, it would be like saying going in a supermarket, you're getting the healthiest foods. No, you're getting preservatives, you're getting chemicals, because the business of the food industry has superseded natural food. You look at the ingredients now and it says that there's bioengineered ingredients in your stuff. Like, you don't walk into a food mart and say, oh, this is the greatest food because these are the experts of food. That's the same thing that Ben Shapiro and Dr. Fauci sort of do, where they try to gaslight you into thinking, I'm not wrong for trusting them. I just got lied to. Okay, that's fair. You got tricked by Pfizer, Ben Shapiro. You got tricked by the government, Ben Shapiro, which I don't believe. I just personally believe he's lying just listening to his tone, but whatever. His tone always sounds weird. It's hard to read the guy. He sounds like a Oshkosh Bagosh Furby that got dropped on its head and has like a higher screeching voice that you want to return to Toys R Us. But in general, you got lied to by the government, Pfizer, and the scientists. Okay, fair. Do you have the hubris to not run around conservative media now crying for weeks saying that people asking questions are bad faith and they're bad, and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens are bad because they're just asking questions and taking veiled jabs at them? No, it's like now the guy who should have been asking questions, who thinks he's so smart and so self-righteous, who should have been asking questions, is now trying to gaslight Republicans and conservatives into thinking them asking questions is actually bad. And the CEO of Babylon Bee, who just makes jokes, that would be like if I said, oh, Seth Dillon from Babylon Bee is a bad guy because he's just making jokes. He's pushing his political agenda through just making jokes, which is absolutely what he's doing. But that's fine to do because that's what political satire is, and political cartooning and, this type of art. I'm not saying he does political cartooning. He might. But political satire is the same thing. You're doing art and you're doing cartooning and you're doing satire in order to make a profound political message. The same way when I make a hip hop song called Bioweapon, my lyrics are poetry. I'm trying to relay a message. Absolutely, I'm saying something. I'm not saying nothing. So he just makes jokes, right? Just making jokes. The nerve of somebody who does political satire to then join Jeremy Jeremy Boring and Ben Shapiro in this like crusade against just asking questions, because they're mad that that Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and millions of others are poking holes in their foreign policy, poking holes in their lopsided logic, poking holes in their political agenda, which can't withstand questions. Because if you question it, it doesn't make sense. Then they resort to calling you hateful, saying you're jealous, saying it's hate speech or anti-Semitism to say this or that, or, all of a sudden they can't withstand questions. So they resort to smearing questions like Anthony Fauci, crying hate speech like liberals, and then gaslighting you into thinking that you're being the left. There's somebody, I guess he's some sort of Russian Jewish atheist. I'm not, he owns, or he runs a podcast called, I think it's called Trigonometry or something. I've seen a few, looks like decent episodes. But anyway, Jordan Peterson is running around with this guy. It's called like the We Who Wrestle with God tour for his new book or whatever. And he's like subverting Christians all the time to Jordan Peterson by being like, what if the people who opposed God are secretly the ones that are going to win? It's like, shut up, Jordan Peterson. I get it. You're a fraud. You're a plant, but whatever. Not a plant like that, but maybe you're not a plant. Maybe you've earned your way, Mr. Number One top psychologist in the world, by getting the number one psychology experiment, COVID-19, wrong. Yeah, so bright. And then, We Who Wrestle with God tour with somebody that doesn't even seem to believe in God. But anyway, this guy comes out and he writes an article and he says the woke right is Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is the new face of the woke right. That's what Konstantin Kisin is saying, right? Of course, it's hate speech to say that he's doing it, or I'm sure he's going to cry hate speech if you point out that anything that he doesn't want you to point out or whatever, just asking questions. But it's like, how is Tucker Carlson the woke right? The gaslighting, and it's not just Konstantin, because I barely know this guy, but I'm just talking about people of that ilk who don't like what Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson are saying. These people have been silent on the anti-Semitism hate speech laws that have been passed through U.S. government since 2018, 2019. They're being passed through every month now by Republicans like Governor Abbott, and they have a list of hate speech phrases that say that you can't say this and you can't say that, and if you want to say that this happened to Jesus, that's technically anti-Semitism. And these are really being passed in law to change the definition of anti-Semitism in U.S. law. And God knows what's going to happen after it's successful. Who knows? It's not going to stop there. It never does when it comes to hate speech policing. Anyway, the people that say nothing about the hate speech laws, the people that use the word being passed through hate speech laws to smear all of the dissidents who know that they're lying, people that like Ben Shapiro, who got COVID-19 wrong because he wasn't asking questions and he admitted he got lied to by Pfizer, government, etc. People like Seth Dillon, who are using Anthony Fauci level gaslighting tactics to tell you that you're just asking questions because you're not being rational and not accepting the evidence. Like, yeah, of course, you don't want to think too much if there's a lot of evidence, but the evidence proves the same way that I just said. I'm just going to repeat it because it's an important point. Trusting the scientists is not expert. Like, they're expert sellouts sometimes. They're expert donor suckers. They're expert, people that are good at taking money from pharmaceutical companies. So like, the expertise is not necessarily in the science and intelligence. Sometimes an expert politician seems to be someone who knows how to take money and convince you that they're not taking money. Somebody like a Donald Trump, he's a great politician because he takes the money just like other politicians and convinces naive conservatives into thinking that he's so different. So it doesn't mean you're expert, like you're in the lab creating things that people don't realize. Sometimes the expertise is in the fact that realizing that they're taking donor money and evidence and trying to gaslight people into saying, oh, you're just not trusting the science and the rationale. It's like, you're not being rational. So they're trying to basically label Tucker Carlson and any of the dissident right who questions the government as the woke right? They're not the woke right for ignoring the hate speech laws. They're not the woke right for trying to shut down peaceful protests. They're not the woke right for policing speech and crying hate speech when anybody criticizes the country that gets tens of billions of dollars from foreign aid. This is the hubris of not just Republican politicians, but a lot of plants in Republican media where they're trying to say that it's hate speech to talk about the country that has gotten more money in foreign aid over the last 50 years than any other country has until it's surpassed by Ukraine. Speaking of which, the greatest business in modern history is foreign aid. You get hundreds of billions of dollars. Think about that. Hundreds of billions of dollars. Do you work for it? No. I mean, you could say it's for allies and it's good for our defense, etc. But when you look at Ukraine, I don't believe it's good for America. I think we're funding a war. And then BlackRock's going to come in and rebuild it to the tune of $1 trillion. They're going to make a fortune. God knows where that money's ending up in Ukraine. And I personally don't believe it's helping Ukrainians, Russians, Europeans, America, or anybody. I think it's a giant grift that's absolutely insane. But what better business is there than to just get tens of billions of dollars in multiple countries, and then in return, you just tell people that they're being hateful and that they need their speech policed if they notice that their money is flying to foreign countries and other groups of people while the southern border remains open. Let's look at this. So the House passed this $95 billion bill to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Ukraine gets $60.8 billion. Israel gets $26.4 billion. And Taiwan gets $8 billion and other Indo-Pacific allies. So that's around $95 billion to multiple foreign countries. $26 billion for Israel, and America gets hate speech laws that say and police your criticism of Israel. Donald Trump passes them. Most Democrats pass them. It seems to be the only thing that they ever agree on. People think that, right-wingers are so stupid now. They think that Alec Baldwin is based and, oh my gosh, John Fetterman's so based now. No, John Fetterman is a Zionist firster, just like most people in politics. And when you say that, the American press smears you as an anti-Semite for speaking the truth. If you can prioritize Zionism second over American values, then you're not a Zionist firster. You're just somebody that's just a casual Zionist, but you love America and you prioritize America. But in America, Donald Trump likes the First Amendment until Zionism supersedes that. Then he passes speech laws that like police on college campuses or police in certain states and a certain legislation that now your criticism of Israel is hate speech. Now noticing patterns is hate speech. Now speaking just generalities that you could speak about other races and religions or hate speech. Now, your speech is being policed. So not only do tens of billions of dollars flow to these other countries, but your speech in America is being limited to even talk about the money that's flying not to your border, but to foreign countries. It's absolutely insane. And I know this is going to bother people, but here's a compilation showing that it's not just Lindsey Graham who sucks. It's not just the Democrats who suck. It's Speaker Mike Johnson of the Republican Party who had a majority, and they were holding off saying, we're not going to give money to these countries until we get money for our border. They gave up on that. They don't care. And here's the part that's going to freak people out, because it's going to wake them up out of their slumber, that they're getting brainwashed and their brains are being rotted by fake plants and conservative media that just run you in circular circuses all the time that never go anywhere because they're phonies. Donald Trump was in on this. He's cool with what Mike Johnson did, and he's cool with it because Trump was behind it. Trump has the leverage over dozens, if not hundreds of people in politics. They are Trump supporters, people like Matt Gaetz, etc. And I'm not saying Matt necessarily budged on this. He probably didn't, but others are easier to control, and Trump has a lot of power. And according to Lindsey Graham and Trump's own words, he's not only cool with it, he was behind the reason that this money's flowing and you're not getting any border money. Let's take a watch.
There's a loan component to it. This would not have passed without Donald Trump. I want to thank the House Speaker and Hakeem Jeffries working together in a bipartisan fashion.
I think he's doing a very good job. He's doing about as good as you're going to do. And
this would not have passed without Donald Trump. This would not have passed without Donald Trump.
And again, Senator Lindsey Graham, who is really I'm going to have to work. I'm going to have to work on these people. I'm going to have to. All right.
This would not have passed without Donald Trump. This would not have passed without Donald Trump.
I'm going to have to work on these people. I'm going to have to.
The last clip where Trump is saying, I'm going to have to work on these people, that's for when he was parading around at a Trump rally with Lindsey Graham. People started booing. He looked at you like you're a bunch of cattle and a bunch of pathetic, weak men, because no offense, people at this point that are still supporting him are. And he looks at you and he laughs and he just says, I'm going to have to work on these people. He doesn't have to change from supporting Lindsey Graham. You dummies are going to change, because he'll change you. It's that easy. You just run people in circles. You give them another narrative, and then they'll be right back sucking on the teat of Daddy Trump. They don't care. But he's just like if that doesn't wake you up as a man, that he's looking at you like, I'm going to have to work on these people. Oh, yeah, you need to be worked on. What are you, like an animal or something? You have a project for him? No, you don't need to be worked on. You're completely right. Lindsey Graham sucks, and he should listen to you guys and be like, you know what? Maybe my base is right, but they don't care. That's what politicians do. They're professional middlemen. They go to the donors. They sell out the Constitution. They go to foreign countries. They strike deals, and then they come back and wear a cowboy hat and convince you that they're one of you when they're not. Okay? The jig is up, though. Anyway, with the Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro, the foreign aid, I just want to say this. It should be so obvious what's going on to people that I shouldn't even have to say it. If they're giving hundreds of billions of dollars to foreign countries, but they're not fixing the border, it's so frustrating and it's so annoying. And I know that 99% of Republicans see this. And to be honest, I don't even want to talk about it, because just thinking about it or listening to other people talk about it pisses me off. And I don't get that angry or upset anymore. I'm pretty calm. I know what's going on. Nothing is surprising to me. It's all just the same old circus. But this really ticks me off. The border's wide open. Millions of people are flooding. I think it's like 7 million or something ridiculous during the Biden administration. We have, this is why we go and vote. We have the House, right? I voted in the last election, all Republicans. Why? Multiple reasons, local, obvious, but I want Republicans to control the House and the Senate. That's what I want as a registered Republican. Okay, Republicans get the House. They say for months that they're not going to budge until we get border security, and they budge, because they always do. And they're always going to use a tragedy, and they're always going to use an event in foreign policy or in America, because that moves the needle. Trump doesn't want to infringe on the Second Amendment until a shooting happens, and then he does. Trump doesn't want to infringe on the First Amendment, but his donors do, so he does, and then he passes a speech law that says that it's anti-Semitism to say that he's getting paid to do that, but he's getting paid to do that. Or at least he's being influenced by money in the same way I believe he was influenced by the pharmaceutical industry. I don't think Donald Trump naturally wants to run around being a vaccine man, but one meeting with Bill Gates, $1 million from Pfizer, and a few pharmacy lobbyist hires, and all of a sudden he is. He goes from a vaccine skeptic to a vaccine salesman. You know, I don't know. Did he sell out? Is he you could speculate whatever, but in America, whether you agree with me or not, you should understand that you should be allowed to speculate on the pharmaceutical lobbying industry. And when they start censoring you off Facebook, whether you think that person's crazy or not, you should understand that now they're censoring criticism of the pharmaceutical industry. They're essentially sucking out your First Amendment and making it illegal to question the industry that's getting tens of billions of dollars from your taxpayer money. Do you guys notice a pattern? Do you notice a pattern? Operation Warp Speed, and then also the purchasing of the Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson vaccines from Biden and Trump. That's tens of billions of dollars. I don't know the exact outcome. It could be near $100 billion when it's all said and done with the money they've made from that, but at least tens of billions of dollars in socialist taxpayer money going to Operation Warp Speed, going to buy the doses. The reason the doses were free is because your taxpayer dollars paid for it. And what's a bigger slap in the face than pharmaceutical socialism from Donald Trump and Joe Biden in both parties? What's an even bigger slap in the face than them just taking your money and giving it to the pharmaceutical industry, besides the mandates that Joe Biden put in? A bigger slap in the face is then trying to please criticism that it's even happening. You don't live in a free country anymore. You don't have the First Amendment anymore. Not only are they sucking our money dry, everything you do, you buy something, they tax you. You sell something, they tax you. You make money, you tax you. They don't make money, you tax it. You save money, they tax you. Oh, you got a bank and you make interest on your savings, they tax that too. They're just stealing our money everywhere we go, and no one's going to change it. And Trump's little corporate tax break isn't anything. It's still socialist. It's still communist. It's still 30-something%. He's not doing shit. He's a fraud. Anyway, they take all your money, right? Okay, take my money. I'm a cash cow slave. Moo, moo. Let me get on all fours and walk around. Just be honest with me, okay? Elites, media, Trump, Republicans, Democrats. If I'm a slave, just tell me I'm a slave. I'll walk on all fours and moos. Because if I'm going to be a man, I'm going to be a man. But if not, just let me know and let's just be honest about it. Let's stop playing around, okay? But if I'm going to be free and you're going to steal my money, at least allow me to have a conversation about it. At least allow me to talk about it. When all of the social media companies are colluding with the government to shut down opposition of the pharmaceutical industry that's getting hundreds or tens of billions of dollars of our taxpayer money, now we're just slaves, okay? And that's the same thing with a foreign country. I don't care if it's Israel, Ukraine, Palestine, Russia, Italy, Poland, Germany, Czechoslovakia or Czech Republic or whatever they call it now, or Canada. It does, the country doesn't matter to me. It's the premise. I have no problem with Israel. But if Israel is going to take hundreds of billions of dollars in taxpayer money, and then politicians are mysteriously going to get lobbied to pass hate speech laws that limits the criticism of the country getting the money, I'm just a slave, okay? I'm not a free man. And the Republican Party is just as in on it as the Democratic Party. Trump is just as in on it. But people don't want to wake up to this reality, so it just continues. It's not just the fact that they're taking our money. It's the fact that they're trying to police rhetoric while they're taking our money. Do you notice the pattern between that and the pharmaceutical industry? It's just anybody who gets the money, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry, don't want people to talk about it, in different categories. Oh, we're going to get tens of billions of dollars from the big pharma. We don't want you to talk about it. Oh, we're going to get hundreds of billions of dollars in foreign aid. We don't want you to talk about it. Okay, then just take the First Amendment, Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, and next time you fly over there to sell out our rights, why don't you wipe your ass with it on television and just be honest? That's all I ask. You're wiping your ass with the First Amendment, Trump. You're wiping your ass with the First Amendment, DeSantis. You're wiping your ass with the First Amendment, Kemp. You're wiping your ass with the First Amendment, Noam. You're wiping your ass with the First Amendment, Huckabee Sanders. You're wiping your ass with the First Amendment. Insert Republican here who's doing it. Go on television and wipe your ass with it and show your supporters what you're doing. Because you lying about it, they think you're helping them. Oh, Trump's going to fix it from Ukraine. He's behind the bill. And you got $0 for border security. They hate you. They hate your guts. Stop cheering for these scumbags. When it comes to Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson, I don't trust or believe everything Tucker Carlson says. And I certainly don't trust or believe anything Ben Shapiro says. The dude's like a total scammer. But anyway, it's not simply, oh, I'm picking a side because this and that, but there's a fundamental symbolism going on here. You have Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, in some elements, Donald Trump, when he asks questions, he's been crappy for a while, but he had a moment there for a few years where he really was awesome and people liked him. People that are admitting to be an American patriot. You can't just blindly trust your government, because right now our government are like international communists. They're just sucking our money dry, running around funding wars that would end the day that we stopped funding them. And they're getting hundreds of thousands of people killed on both sides of the Ukraine and Russia war. For what? For American interests? For European interests? Absolutely not. Ukraine and Russia have a shared history. Ukraine didn't even always exist. They're very similar. I'm not saying that you can't pick the Ukraine side, but it's like if Mexico and America started fighting over part of Texas, would that give the rights to Israel and Saudi Arabia and Russia to fly over to Mexico and start marching into, or joining the Mexican army if we went into their land or vice versa? I don't think it does. So why do we have the right to enter these wars? Because that's who we are. And it's not helping America. Look at our cities. I was looking at comments on this guy, Zuby, that I'm friends with. I mean, we'd never met in person, but I've always been friendly with him. He made a post on Instagram, Zuby, and he said, here's the good things about Dubai. I think he lives in Dubai, or he's traveled and lived in Dubai part-time or whatever, because he's been all over the place. He's a well-traveled guy. And he starts listing all the great things about Dubai. He says there's like no income tax. He's like, there's no capital gains tax. It's good for families. It's clean. It's safe. And he just lists all these things that are objectively true. I'm not asking you to like love Dubai, but objectively, if you've ever been there or you've studied it or you've lived there, he's not wrong. It is an extremely safe place. Everything he said about the taxes are true. But then in the comments are like brainwashed conservatives that are like, oh, Sharia law. It's like, shut up. Look at San Francisco. Look at New York City. Are you dummies? Dumb? Look at your cities. Why is Dubai cleaner and safer than New York City? Why is it cleaner and safer than San Francisco? It's not because of Sharia law. It's because it's run by people that somewhat give a shit about the people who live there. And your place is run by people who don't give a shit about you, Democrats or Republicans. They're not fixing shit because they hate you. They think you're animals. Moo, moo. It's like, why don't you shut up for 2 seconds and learn why Dubai is so clean, safe, and nice? It's not because it's all Sharia law. Yes, it has an Islamic government, but they're prioritizing keeping the city clean. They police it. They don't allow crime or theft. And they're not taxing the crap out of citizens. You don't have to want to live there. You don't have to agree with it. But why don't you shut up for 2 seconds and learn instead of being an American taxpayer cash cattle cow? You're going to complain about foreign cities that are safe. Meanwhile, you get robbed the second you go into Oakland and you're paying 30-something% taxes just to be here. You save money, you're getting taxed. Capital gains getting taxed. Make money in the stocks taxed. You're a factory farm cattle slave tax cow for a bunch of foreign wars. Everybody in the world knows it except for Americans. I don't know, because of Trump or Biden or Rachel Maddow. I don't know. The culture war in America that's going on. Like the whole world knows what's going on with America except for Americans. They're just oddly like brainwashed. Oh, John Fetterman's on our side. No, he's not. He's just a lobbied politician like everyone else. Oh, Alec Baldwin's making some sense. And I'm not asking you to pick the side of like the left-wing pharmaceutical mass protesters. It's just be honest about it. But anyway, in America, you have tens of millions, if not more, conservatives who realize to be an American patriot, you have to question where our taxpayer dollars are going. You have to question the foreign aid. You have to question why your party's passing speech laws. You have to question the relationship of Mike Johnson and who he really works for. You have to ask these questions about why Donald Trump ended up in a pharmaceutical lockdown where he's like Bill Gates on steroids selling vaccines. If you don't ask questions about that, you're kind of an idiot. But there's the Ben Shapiros and the Seth Dillons and you're just asking questions. You're just asking questions. And the reason they don't want you to ask questions about, Japan and World War II, the reason they don't want you to ask questions about that is because it's really similar to a lot of other narratives they don't want you to ask questions about, including the modern narrative of the fact that some people in other countries and here are getting hundreds of billions of dollars. You're working, they're taking. You're working, they're taking. You're working, they're taking. They're taking. They're taking. They're taking. But don't ask questions about it because Ben Shapiro told you to, and they're taking. And Tucker, Candace, you don't have to trust everything or like everything that they do, but these are some of the biggest, they're the top two, Trump, Candace and Tucker, that are asking questions about this. Trump isn't a real leader anymore for you. He's just a politician. Treat him like Mike Johnson. He's exactly the same. Vote for him if you want over Biden. Try to fix the border, but stop worshiping him. He's not talking about this stuff anymore. He doesn't care. But anyway, if you take him out of the equation, because he's just being a politician, you have Tucker and Candace. They're the two top conservative figures that have hundreds of millions of listeners who are talking about this stuff, who are saying, I realized that Republican media is phony. There's another similarity that Tucker and Candace have. Candace pushed the limits of Daily Wire and got fired. Daily Wire doesn't see or got quit. I don't know exactly what happened, to be honest, but like she left. Okay. During the pandemic, did Daily Wire care that Tucker or that Candace Owens was being like really great when it came to pharmaceutical criticism? Well, they let her do it, but it's like, if you really cared about America, you'd be like, well, we don't want to get rid of Candace because she really crushed that narrative. And like Ben Shapiro blew that narrative. So, if another one of these comes around, it's good to have someone like Candace here who's right about all these things that Ben Shapiro's wrong about. And it's like, no, it's like foreign policy, criticism of the nation that's getting hundreds of billions of dollars. You pushed it too far, talking about groups that we don't want you to talk about. Goodbye. Okay. And then Tucker Carlson said this on Joe Rogan, which I'm sure they heard, where he said, I noticed that in conservative and Republican media and in liberal media, the fake, intellectual dark web types, their entire come up literally was like, we're pro free speech. We're liberals, but we're pro free speech. We're conservatives, but we're against safe spaces. It's all fake. And Tucker said it's all fake. He's like, he talked about Barry Weiss specifically, but he's like, there's one topic. He said neocon, other people will say Zionist, but there's one topic that all of a sudden their entire ideology completely flips. Everything that they said about safe spaces and this and that, it all goes upside down. And what people don't realize, no, it's not just for protests that have gone too far. Protests that go too far are already illegal. And if you were going to pass a law to police protests, why wouldn't you pass it for every race, every religion, and every country? Why would you only pass it for one? Because that's the country that gets hundreds of billions of dollars in foreign aid. It's the same reason they're policing criticism of the COVID vaccine and not other pharmaceutical products that don't matter right now and aren't getting as much money right now. And once you realize that that's going on, you either end up on the Tucker or Candace side, or you end up on the Ben and Seth Dillon side of trying to gaslight you into thinking that asking questions about these things means you're not American. Jeremy said the other day, if you ask questions about nuking innocent civilians, you hate America. And in general, look at all the Republicans. Someone mentioned that Crowder did it. I don't listen to Crowder. I've never listened to Ben Shapiro. I'll listen to like clips that he says online when he's lying about stuff. But in general, it's like Crowder's a funny comedian when he does skits. But as far as a podcast or an intellectual voice, I've never listened to him. I've seen right through it the entire time. So someone's like, it's like all of them are coming out to be like, Jeremy Boring, you're so right, buddy. And I'm not saying Crowder's doing that because him and Jeremy had a little spurt. But, someone had mentioned that he had made the case for dropping nuclear bombs. I don't even know because it's not even a narrative that like, it's not like a make or break. If you think that or you think that, I don't love or hate America. But it's like, that's the talking point of the week is like, if you question bombing innocent civilians, then you're not American. And it's the same tired neocon rehash talking points. You're not American if you don't want to invade Iraq. You're not in America if you don't want to invade Iran or Afghanistan or Yemen or Syria or Libya. You're just not American. And everybody sees through that now because we already lived through that. And it didn't lead to America being great. It led to America being worse. And everyone sees that. But they think they could rehash these old, tired neocon talking points that you hate America if you're against dropping the bomb in World War II, even though there's evidence that even top presidents and war officials were saying that we didn't even need to do that in order to accomplish what we accomplished. But if you don't agree, and do you notice a pattern? All the people that are saying you're not American if you question the bombings in World War II are the same ones who are gaslighting you into thinking it's okay to kill tens of thousands of innocent civilians now. And the same thing, they're telling you it's for your interests. Why does America look like this if all of these things are for our interests? Where are the budding cities? Where is the amazing culture? Why is everything going downhill in our country? Something's going on. It's not going in the right direction, and everybody knows it. And here's another thing. I heard Glenn Greenwald say this on Megyn Kelly, and I'm going to be really careful about this because it's going to be misconstrued, taken out of context, and used against anybody who says this because I saw it happen on TikTok. But in general, it's important to know the truth about what people actually thought, not to justify what they did, obviously, but to understand. So, Glenn Greenwald brought this up in a debate with Megyn Kelly. He brought up the Bin Laden letter to America. It was going on TikTok. I don't really use TikTok that much, so I didn't even see a single TikTok. But apparently, a bunch of people were bringing up the Bin Laden letter to America on TikTok. So they banned it on TikTok. They banned it on most media, right? And they said that we don't want this traveling around. So I'd never heard of it. I never read it. I don't give a shit about Bin Laden. Fuck Bin Laden. But in general, I was like, I better read this because, if they're going to ban this from existence, I got to see it. So the Guardian, I think it's probably still up on the Guardian website. They left it up and it said, we want, for journalistic reasons, to keep the bin Laden letter to America here because although it's horrific and although it's horrible and although 9/11 was disgusting, we can't just delete history. We got to keep this historical document up. So I read it and I learned something just within the first couple paragraphs. And I learned that one of the first reasons that bin Laden, and I'm not just, I got to be clear, I'm not justifying what he did. I'm American. Killing thousands of innocent people is evil. I believe it's evil when America does it. I believe it's evil when bin Laden does it. I have a bias towards America, so I hate it more when bin Laden kills people that I know and my friends' parents and stuff. Like, obviously, I hate that because they had nothing to do with it, and it's disgusting. I am in no way, shape, or form justifying what he did, but I'm telling you why he did it. And they don't tell you this. They tell you he hates freedom. He hates America because we have this. In the first couple paragraphs you could read, the first thing he references, from what I recall, was the fact that America is supporting Israel in its quest in the Middle East to, fight with Palestine and fight with other countries. No one knows that. Glenn Greenwald brought it up and they're banning it from everything. But it's like, I'm not saying it's right. It's obviously not. But it's like, no one told me that. No one told me that was retaliation for that. They don't want you to know that, So once I read that, I was like, dang, that's crazy. They never talked about that on the news. They never said that's the reason. And it doesn't justify, of course, but it gives Americans the understanding that, well, that's retaliation for stuff we've been doing over there. Not making it right, but providing context to what he really thinks. And he says American taxpayers are paying for all these wars. And they don't even know it, but they're leading to the suffering and the killing of people over here. Not justifying it. That's just what he said. Okay, so let me, as an American citizen, I have nothing against Ukrainians. I have nothing against Russians. I have nothing against any country in the world. And I understand the world's complex and it's not perfect and there's going to be wars. I get it. But as an American taxpayer, we're giving hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. How do I interpret it after studying it? I think Ukrainians are dying. I think Russians are dying. I think people are dying by the tens, if not hundreds of thousands, according to what I'm seeing. And I think when it's all said and done, the war stops when America funds it. I don't think Ukraine could beat Russia. Russia's one of the hardest countries in the world to beat at war. They're the last people I'd want to fight. Russia? Really? They've always done well because they're in a cold area that's hard to, they know how to maneuver in the land of Russia. They retreat back there. It's very chilly. It's a huge land. They're very strong people. They're very tough. They're very blunt. They're like the hardest people to beat at war. And America's funding some former comedian actor who played a president on television for a couple of years before he became the real president to fight a war over there. And I have to agree with it or else I hate America. It's like, fuck you, Jeremy Boring. Fuck you, Seth Dillon. Fuck you, Mike Johnson. Fuck you guys. Not only are you stealing my money and trying to pass speech laws to say that it's like hate speech to say that I could even talk about it, you're funding wars against America's interests that everybody's going to start hating us now. And it's already happening. It's like in the Middle East, do some people hate us because of our freedom? Absolutely. Do some people hate us because of our religion and we're not Islamic? Absolutely. But do some people hate us because we've been funding countries and funding wars for the last 80 years that we're not paying attention to because we don't even barely know what's happening because our media won't talk about it? Absolutely. And even now that's happening. It's just ridiculous. So that's really the culture disconnect going on in the country right now. I don't agree. I listened to the Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, not the whole thing, but like half of it. There's a lot of things I disagree with Tucker on. To be honest, I don't agree with everything he says or believe everything he says. And Ben trying to gaslight people into thinking that Tucker wants you to believe, like in that one clip, he's like, oh, Tucker wants you to believe either you listen to him or like he's the only authority. He's never said that. Like, I disagree with a lot of what Tucker says. Sometimes I think he's being a little sneaky, in my opinion. I'm not saying I hate him. I actually enjoy him quite thoroughly, but like, I don't believe everything Tucker says. But as somebody that doesn't believe everything that Tucker says, I've never heard him say, you have to believe me. Like this gaslighting from Ben that what Tucker's doing is saying, only trust me, but don't trust anyone else. That's something that Tucker's never said. In fact, he hosts way more diverse people than Ben does. He has on Jimmy Dore and Glenn Greenwald and all these progressive liberals all the time that are genuine, but have a policy that's completely against conservative values. And he still lets them on their show and lets them talk and allows them to have a conversation. He's not the type of guy that says you have to only listen to me. I don't even think he cares that much what people think as long as they're listening. So it's like, that's the dynamic going on, is at least with Tucker and Candace and others, you have these people that are saying, being an American patriot is not blindly believing your government. Being an American patriot is not blindly supporting these wars, because it's just like, and I'm not saying necessarily karma, because I know there's going to be religious people say, I don't believe in karma, but whatever energy or spirit that comes around goes around. It's just the reality of everything. It's like, if we're funding hundreds of billions of dollars of foreign wars, people hate us, they're not righteous, we're not doing what they say we're doing, and all of those resources are going over there, not to our own cities. I mean, I think it was Josh Hawley, he said, let's bring in the National Guard to Columbia to shut down this protest to protect Jewish students because they did it during Little Rock. So now apparently they're facing their own Little Rock, Arkansas, civil rights movement. Say what I think that's insane for given the consequences to bring in the National Guard for this. But even if you thought that was justified, right? This is so crazy that we need to bring in the National Guard to shut down the Palestinian protests. St. Louis is crazy dangerous. Chicago, dozens of people are like dying every weekend. Like, kids are dying, women are dying, innocent Americans are dying all the time. Most of them happen to be black, and mysteriously the media doesn't seem to care unless a white cop does it. Los Angeles is turning into a shithole. San Francisco sucks. New York City, there's crazy things happening all the time. The hoods in New York City are wild. I'm not saying to send the National Guard there either, but it's like, you're going to send the National Guard to Columbia University, a bunch of rich kids that are, having their little LARPing political battle. And, one professor who literally served in a foreign military, that's the center mysteriously of all this controversy. You're going to send the National Guard there, not to the cities where people are just getting slaughtered every weekend? Does it not show the priorities of not just the Republican Party, but politicians? There's a certain topic they care above everything else ever. And if you're going to send all these resources to Israel and all these resources to Ukraine, when are they going to send resources to the cities? And here's the thing. People will say, well, those are Democrat cities controlled by the Democrats. Well, a lot of them are in Republican states and they don't do shit. And also, America is more your territory than Afghanistan is. So it's like, if you think you have the right to fund a war in Ukraine, you could fund things in San Francisco. That's at least in your country. So this gaslighting from Republicans, like, we have no power to do that. Yeah, they have no power to do anything, but mysteriously they have the power to funnel money to the pharmaceutical industry. Yeah, they don't really have the power to do that either, but they do it because they don't give a shit about you. You understand? So, and the only reason they get away with this stuff is because no one realizes it's happening. The solution is peaceful. And I'm not even telling you to protest and put up a mysteriously nice tent at Columbia where they all have the same nice new tents, which is odd. And I'm not asking you to even protest, let alone do anything crazy. It's peaceful. It's legal. It's just not non-compliance. Once you let the Republican Party know you know what they're doing, it all ends. But there's plants in Republican politics and plants in Republican media to just constantly spin you in circles. There's always going to be a circus. There's always going to be a narrative, this and that. John Fetterman's cool, blah, blah, blah. They said this, to get you running circles so you never stop and think, I'm getting tricked. I'm getting scammed. You're not doing anything. You're telling me to run circles around a politician who doesn't care about me. You're running these plots that they don't hold up to logical objectivity about how I see the thing. And that's like 90-something% of Republican media. It's always a narrative that has nothing to do with anything. On the college campuses, I don't care what your foreign policy is, but it's not hard to figure out what's going on the college campus. Yeah, people are pissed. The Palestinian protesters are pissed because tens of thousands of people are dying in a foreign country. And every day, women and children get slaughtered and nobody reports on it because I'm pretty sure a lot of the journalists in that country were either kicked out or killed. And in America, people don't want to report on it. Some do, but it doesn't matter because both sides of government are going to give money there anyway. But in general, not even justifying whatever they are doing, because I don't even pay attention to it, I could tell you the dynamic of what's going on college campuses. You have a bunch of billionaire donors and high-level people who had no problem. They're not mysteriously on your side now because they woke up or whatever. It's like they had no problem with liberalism. They had no problem with Marxism. They had no problem with communist ideals or anti-America ideals or other race ideals. They had no problem with that for 20 years. Oh, these kids are pushing, quote unquote racism against this group. I don't care. Oh, they're pushing anti-American values. I don't care. Open borders. I don't care. Anti-Trumpism. I don't care. They only care when the lines of Marxism cross another ideology, which is Zionism. Now they care. Now it needs to get shut down. Now they need to send it in the National Guard. Now it's too far. Now they need to resign. Not when they were doing all that other crazy stuff. Now. Why? Why is that the same line of John Fetterman and Josh Hawley? Why does Trump and Biden do the same thing? Why is it the only thing that Republicans and Democrats agree on? They can't fix the border, but they can give money to that country. It's not hard to, and then why is Trump passing a speech law to stop you from talking about it? It's not hard to figure out what's going on, but the reason no one can figure it out is because so many plants in Republican media, they never talk about it. It's constant diversions, constant this, and the second that people start waking up, and I'm not saying that you have to listen to everything Tucker Carlson says or believe everything that Candace Owens says. There's things that both of them say that I don't agree with. There's things that both of them say that I don't believe, and there's things that both of them say that I think when I listen to it, I would never have said that. That's just me being honest. I'm me, they're them. I don't just idolize them and want to be them. It's like there's a lot of stuff they say that I'm like, I would not have said that. However, the second that they start waking up to what I'm talking about or speaking about it even indirectly, that's when the Ben Shapiros and the Jeremy Borings come out and say, whoa, you don't like America if you question the war. You don't like America if you don't believe in the moon landing. It's the same rehashed, tired, scammy neocon talking points because they want the money to flow to foreign countries at all costs, and they don't give a shit about you or San Francisco or Los Angeles or the cities because they're all going to shit. Even the nice cities are going to shit. The nice areas are going to shit. Nashville's nice now. Everybody wants to move there, but it's going to be shitty in 10 years. The whole country's going downwards because we're not embracing cultural realities that would fix them. As our borders are wide open, as our allies that claim that they're on our side want to flood us with refugees, as people on our side are telling us that it's more important that hundreds of billions of dollars go there than to hold the line for our own best interests. And then as soon as you figure it out, they'll just gaslight you and call you names just like the left in order to smear your character while they can't, beat your arguments. They can't beat your arguments. So then they have to go so far as to say that asking questions is now too far because you asking Ben a question that he can't answer makes him look stupid. So it's not him for being wrong about the entire pharmaceutical jump off. It's you for just asking questions. That's the problem. This is who these people are. And it's way deeper than people realize, and it's way more widespread than people realize. And it's never going to stop until people wake up to it. And the truth is, the reason that I'm so outspoken about it, I got into media in 2016. I didn't want to do this. I don't like politics. I don't like television. I don't like the media. I don't like Democrats or Republicans. It's not why I got into this. I just saw how dishonest they were doing. I saw them rigging the internet before a lot of people realized it. I saw them in the bag with Hillary Clinton. I saw them smearing people on the left and the right who were being honest and lying about them. And I saw it as a coordinated thing. I was smart enough in 2016 and I used the internet enough. Like been on the internet my whole life. So I could see how it was like working as a unit. New York Times, Washington Post, Google. Like I could make the connections for the first time in my whole life. And I was like, wow, this is really crazy. I want to talk about it. So then I did. And then in 2019, I realized that the Republicans are doing the same thing. Of course, I always thought the Republicans were scammy. I was never a neocon or a George Bush supporter. I saw right through all that stuff. I was the person that Jeremy Boring didn't like because I called all that out for what it was when I was in my teens and 20s. But I did think that Trump was going to be different. He did sell me on a lot of these talking points of being the outsider. And then I found out in 2019 that they were doing all the same things. It started, just to be sorry to be repetitive for people who've watched, but there's going to be people here who've never seen me. They started passing hate speech laws that included rhetoric, policing safe spaces, revisiting free speech policies, as Governor Abbott says now, and putting in hate speech laws for one race, one religion, and one country that mysteriously seems to be most of their donors and also the country that gets hundreds of billions of dollars of foreign aid. Not being hateful, it's just the truth. It's literally the truth. They'll always say this or that, or he's this or that, but they'll never say I'm a liar because I'm not lying. So once I did that, all these doors closed on me. And I was like, oh, I figured this out in 2019. That's what the Republican Party really is. It's a front, essentially, that just cares about something else more than American values. And I didn't even see the pharmaceutical thing coming down the pipeline. But then once that came out, it's like, well, clearly Trump cares about Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Moderna, and his pharmaceutical friends more than us, or else he'd speak about this stuff. So it's like, God knows how many ways these people are tangled, because it's not just one issue or one country. They're just completely sold out. They're doing business. They're businessmen, but their business is selling out America. I could do business too and do that, but I don't do it because it's not what I came here for. But anyway, now people are finally waking up after 5 years. Tucker Carlson, for the first time, is speaking about this stuff. Candace Owens, she's been a superstar, but she's talking about it. Millions of people are talking about it. Everybody knows it now. And now all of these people are exposing themselves, coming out, trying to quash that awakening by saying that asking questions is bad and questioning your government too much is bad. And these are the same people that fell for the Pfizer government scientist line in 2020 and 2021. And to be honest, I don't even believe, just listen to the tone of his voice. I don't believe that he really got tricked. It sounds more like to me that he's acting and pretending like he's shocked. Listen.
But we now know that we were lied to by everyone. We were lied to by the scientists. We were lied to by Pfizer. We were lied to by the government.
Imagine if I said, hey guys, we're being lied to by everyone, you would be like, Anomaly's a fraud. He's not speaking from his heart and his soul. He's just like pretending. Like that's my vibe here.
But we now know that we were lied to by everyone. We were lied to by the scientists. We were lied to by Pfizer. We were lied to by the government. We were lied to by the Biden administration.
He almost looks like he's about to break out laughing. Like he's just like, these stupid idiots actually believe the words coming out of my mouth. We lied to by everyone. We were lied to by Pfizer. We were lied to like, that's the voice. It's like he's like, are Americans this dumb that they literally think that I got tricked?
But we now know that we were lied to by everyone. We were lied to by the scientists. We were lied to by Pfizer. We were lied to by the government. We were lied to by the Biden administration. We were lied to. I don't like being lied to.
Yeah, I'm not buying it, but God bless anybody who does. You're going to need it. But anyway, I'm going to keep this under an hour. It seems to be working. People are waking up. How could you not wake up? If America was like it was during the 2000s, nobody would think anything like, oh, the cities are great. We're booming. There's no culture battles going on in America. Yeah, let's fund multiple foreign wars to save our best interests. But it's like, those talking points don't work when everyone's looking around and it's like everything costs a lot. We're being taxed out the wazoo. These people are getting hundreds of billions of dollars. Republicans are passing speech laws and selling pharmaceutical vaccines when we really needed them 2 years ago. Like everyone's waking up to this. And then you could see who's happy that people are waking up, and you could see who are trying to frame it as too many questions are bad. And the people that don't trust America as much as me and want to bomb innocent people, they're the anti-Americans. It's the same old 1970s, 1980s rehashed neocon talking points that led us to this part. There's no hate in my words. I don't hate anybody. I'm just speaking the truth. I love America. I love the First Amendment. I think it's important. I think it's one of the only things that's making America cooler than other countries, because a lot of things we're losing slowly. It's still an amazing country and it's huge. And there's a lot of places to go. But in general, like, it's not what it could be. We want to make it better. And in general, we got to be able to analyze these wars without being called anti-American, because the same narrative repeats over and over and over again. And we're not getting the results that were promised domestically or even overseas. We're not even getting them overseas. Let me know what you guys think. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. People always talk about solutions. They get freaked out when I point out problems. This is my opinion about the solution. It's peaceful. You don't even have to leave your house and go protest. Just stop being a part of the problem. If you're cheering on people lying to you, you're part of the problem. If you're not asking questions, you're part of the problem. If you think Trump's going to save you, you're part of the problem. If you think I'm being hateful because I question the fact that Jordan Peterson, it's like, that's all just like not helping. Once enough people know that this is happening and know that the Republican Party just sold us out and left our border out to dry, that's when they have to change. They know that people will still be able to sheep herd. They'll use Trump. They'll use somebody you like to sheep herd you back in the right direction. But the culture change is happening. And once enough people on both sides, but especially just on the right, we have enough numbers, people wake up to that. Yeah, you don't have to agree on everything, and all that doesn't have to happen. But if people wake up to the reality of who the Republican Party really is, what the Republican media really is and what agenda they're serving over the American Constitution, over the American people, that's all you need to do. And then things will start to shift in the right direction. They move the Overton window. Both parties shift in the same direction together. And then they bounce you back and forth like a ping pong ball thinking, oh, this guy's going to be different. This guy's going to be different. And that's the plan. The solution is to wake up to that and not play along and just peacefully just speak the truth calmly if you can, speak the truth about it. That's all it takes. It's that easy. God bless you guys. I'm out.
Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon.